Ho, 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 hello. Hello, everybody. Hang tight real quick, and we're going to get this show on the road. First live episode in our history. I'm very excited about it. It's either going to go really well or really poorly, but we're going to find out real soon. So hang tight for just another few seconds, and we'll be on the road. All right, let's pull this curtain down. What's going on, everybody? Ooh, we need to fix this a little bit. We need to fix that a little bit. There we go. That was a little stretched out, don't you think? And this is what I mean. We're learning as we go. Man, we got a lot of people in here already. But what's going on? PB and Jilly and Pawn Star dropping in the chat. Looking fresh out. Thank you. Thank you. Just got a fresh new cut. I see you've gone official Pawn Star, so good for you. It's going to be a little smush, but you know what? We're going to deal with it. We're going to deal with it. We're going to learn as we go. There we go. Okay. We have a lot to talk about. Now, this is the first time I'm doing this live, so before we get moving at all, we need to thank the Sages of the Lodge, and those are the people who are generous enough to donate monthly, as little as $1 a month, although here at the Lodge, all we ever need is your ear. But without further ado, a big shout out to Charlotte Astry, Alex Pamal, David Freeze, Shane Driscoll, Chris Burkowski, Maria Palmieri, Scott Castellano, Corey Barchat, Andrew Parker, Twilight Blaze, Nick Taborski, Kevin McBride, Henry Rumatza, Michael Fay, Richard Arnold, Andrew Clay, Brendan Abrams, Gun for Summer 3, Orpheus Joshua, and the newest Sage of the Lodge, a Lodge regular you might say, PB and Jilly. Thank you very much, Jilly. You are one of the most supportive people that I have met on these platforms. Thank you for everything that you do, and thank you for becoming a Sage of the Lodge. And Luigi Peppercorn drops in. So listen, guys, here's how I want to do this. I want to go topic for topic in Omni3, give my thoughts. If anybody in the chat wants to share their thoughts, I can't guarantee I'll get to them, but if you want to share your thoughts or shout out a question or tell me I'm full of shit, go for it. But without further ado, I think the first thing we need to talk about, and let's see, first time doing one of these transitions, let's see if that goes through. But the first thing that I want to talk about was something that happened let's just talk about the whole day of Square Enix. Now, I had very high hopes. I wasn't, well, you're full of shot. Thank you, Luigi. Now look, what's going on, Shafttown? I didn't have very high hopes for Square Enix, but there was one thing I wanted. I wanted Final Fantasy 16. I didn't think we were going to see Kingdom Hearts. I didn't think we were going to see Remake Part 2. But I was hoping we would get to see a little bit more Final Fantasy 16. I'm really excited for it. I feel like we haven't gotten a whole lot out of it other than that first trailer and the website. So I was hoping to see some of that. And the fact that we saw none of that really hurt. Really hurt. But we got to see Final Fantasy Origins, which I have mixed feelings about. We're gonna get into it. Let me just roll this trailer in the background while we do this. So I've never seen people get flipped on a game so quick. When this trailer first dropped, it was pretty much the butt of the joke, and it was kind of funny to see because I don't know who was in charge of the editing, but we must have said chaos. Someone's got to count. We should put up a counter. 12 times. So, there was a little bit of cringe with this one. But apparently, people who have gotten their hands on the demo say that it's a great game to play, it handles really well, that there's a lot of potential here if they could patch a few things up. Now, I want to give Square Enix their due, because they do want fan feedback when it comes to this. So, I want to give them their due on that, because they know that things may not necessarily be optimal yet. Let's see, Sylv Sora is in here, says, let's be all honest, the first time we read the red text of FF Origin, we thought it was Kingdom Hearts. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. When I saw it, I was like, no way! No way! Because again, I had no expectations we were going to see Kingdom Hearts. PB and Jelly says, I'm hype. If it's really Soul style, I'm sure I'll be obsessed. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is the game does have a lot going for it. If they could have just edited together a trailer where chaos wasn't said 500 times, I really think some people would have been more on board. Something else worth mentioning, I'm not sure, because again, it wasn't dropped in the trailer, thought it was Verum Rex. Yeah, listen, if Verum Rex is going to happen, I think it's years away, if I'm just being honest. I think it was teased a little bit in Kingdom Hearts 3, and they wanted to see how the people would react to it. And I think now that they've gotten a positive reaction, they may be working on something. But if Verum Rex is going to happen, it won't be for a while. But one of the things that I heard that's really cool about this title is apparently you'll be able to customize their armor and customize their gear, which will be fun because, again, everybody here is dressed like you just picked them up from, Christmas shopping at the mall. But, I don't know a whole lot about Final Fantasy 1. But it seems to me that this game is being served up as a potential prequel to it. Because, again, if you abbreviate FF Origins, it's FFO before FF1. Because here we have Garland, who's on the screen right now, who he's from Final Fantasy 1. And a big part of Final Fantasy 1 is if I'm not mistaken, is it's basically a time loop, right? It's basically one big time loop, which might explain why we're getting this vibe where some people are dressed like it's, how would you put it? Old medieval times, and other people are dressed like they're at a modern mall. So there's a lot to be discovered with this. I think some of the good news is after the demo was actually finally playable and palatable, people really seem to see the potential in this title. I haven't gotten a chance to play it myself, but I'm really looking forward to it. PB and Jilly says, yeah, custom armor is a huge part of Soulsborne. It can greatly affect the game. And yeah, see, if they double down on stuff like that, then seeing Nomura as a designer suddenly makes more sense, right? Because when you look at the main cast, for Nomura designs, they're almost too normal. They're so normal they're obscure. But if you're telling me that this was a game where Nomura really got to show off his design quirks and his design strengths by customizing all these different armors that you could cycle through in the game, I think it would be awesome. What's going on, William? Happy to have you here. But this was one of the highlights. Again, there's a lot to criticize about the Square Enix presentation. It was relatively lacking. My biggest critique is no Final Fantasy 16. Not even very much a word about it. They edited it into some major cut at the end, but they didn't even have the decency that, say, Nintendo had to be like, hey, we know you want Metroid Prime 4. We're working on Metroid Prime 4. Even a little bit of that goes a long way. What's going on, Twilight Blaze? One of the sages of the lodge drops in. Sylvsora says, no. FF Origin plays at the same time from Final Fantasy 1, but from another perspective. Another side, another story kind of stuff. If that's true, that could be cool as well, and it still would explain the time loop. So it'll be interesting to see. One of the excitements from Square Enix that I was also excited about, but then immediately let down, was the, dude, I'm about to start swinging. What's up, Adirondack Dad? But was that the pixelated remasters of Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 6. And here, let's switch this up right now. But those remasters for Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 6, that sounded really, really cool. I was really looking into maybe seeing a little bit of that, but we got none of it. Which was a bit of a shame. I mean, it's an exciting announcement. I've been itching to play Final Fantasy 6 myself, but then again, it's a little bit outdated, so that withdraws me a little bit. So hearing that they're going to remaster this it's right up my alley. It's everything that I'm looking for. But they didn't show any of it. Not even a screenshot. And then we learned that it's only on Steam and mobile. And don't get me wrong, I got a nice PC. I'll be able to play on Steam, no problem. But only Steam and mobile? That's a little tone deaf. It can't be that hard to make this available on the Switch, right? I don't know. It was a cool announcement, but it was a little bit lacking due to lack of availability. So how do we feel about Luxord getting a Buster Sword? Yeah, he looks just like Luxord. It's hilarious. Play some Steam games with me, damn it, another time. But yeah, Final Fantasy VI is one of those games I really, really want to replay again. But again, got a big backlog. But a pixelated remastered, if it looks beautiful, I am all in. So I was hoping to see that from Square Enix. Unfortunately, it wasn't so. But now there's something else we got to talk about. And you know what? I kiss Square Enix's ass enough on this channel. I kiss their ass enough that it's about time maybe I come at them swinging a little bit. But Jesus Christ. When they first showed this Guardians of the Galaxy game, I was like, this looks cool. I would play this. But then when they show me 20 minutes of it, I don't want to play it anymore. I don't want to play it anymore. It looks cool. The bond system looks awesome, don't get me wrong. But it put such a sour taste in my mouth because I was like, you only have so much time, Square Enix. All eyes are on you for E3. And you're serving up Guardians of the Galaxy for 20 minutes? Again, like, we get 20 minutes of this, but we didn't get, like, not even a screenshot of those pixelated remasters. I don't know. I will say, I want to give this game its due. It looks great. I think the character designs look pretty good. The combat doesn't look boring. You know, it looks pretty cool. Again, I highlight that bond system. The bond system looks really, really cool. Hopefully it's as in-depth as it looks in the short look we got. But look, they went and showed us the first, like, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of this game. It kind of served as a buzzkill. And maybe I'm being a little petty, but within the first 5 minutes, I was interested, and they might have had my money, but by the 20th minute, I was kind of tapped out. Look, I don't know what this means as far as Square Enix, because as we all know, they have no shortage of things to talk about. They have no shortage of things to show off. So I get the sense from Square Enix that they didn't, not that they didn't take E3 seriously, but that they're prioritizing something else. Whether it's Tokyo Game Show or their own live stream where they announce these things, it really seemed to me like they were withholding their best hand during their Square Enix presentation. And that's a sad thing to see for E3, and it's a sad thing for us to see as people who tuned into this sort of stuff. But it'll be interesting to see how Square Enix values these sorts of things as time goes on. Those of you who are in the Kingdom Hearts community, you know that Tokyo Game Show is big for Kingdom Hearts. Square Enix has been leaning on Tokyo Game Show for a lot of that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what their presentations look like down the line. But all in all, I was a little bit let down by Square Enix's presentations. Final Fantasy 1-6 Remastered sounds awesome, and I'm really, really looking forward to playing Final Fantasy Origin. It looks cool, but why don't we move on to the next thing here? Okay. Next we have... Let's move on to Nintendo. Nintendo was a lot of fun and honestly won the day. They won the day. Ooh, let's not play that. But they won the day. And let's let this roll here. This was something I didn't expect. I thought for sure we were going to get some Metroid Prime or something along those lines. I'm glad they pulled the Breath of the Wild and said, hey, we're working on it. And for those of you who are really looking forward to a Metroid announcement, when they told us we're working on Breath of the Wild 2, a few months later, E3 came and we got a new look. Metroid fans, it won't be long. It won't be long before they have something to show you for Metroid Prime. But this Metroid Dread thing looks pretty cool. Now, I'm not the biggest Metroid fan in the world. I'm not. The last Metroid game I played in full was Metroid Prime 2. I barely remember anything about it, but I remember really enjoying it. Me and my friends talking about it. One of the best games on GameCube. So I'm interested in the next installation of the Metroid Prime series. But to see them make this is such a good sign if you're a Metroid fan. Like, this is because this means that, like, they don't want to just throw Metroid Prime at you. They want to pump out multiple Metroid games. They want to flesh out this universe. Like, I've seen, again, I'm not the biggest Metroid fan, but it appears to me from some people I've spoken to that this Dread, whatever Dread is, whatever Metroid Dread is, this is an arc that's been teased in the Metroid games before. So you're getting some sort of continuity, and they're really working to flesh this world out. So if you're a Metroid fan, this is huge news. This will serve as a great appetizer. I'm sure Metroid Prime isn't too far away. But we got Luigi popping in here. Metroid Prime restarted production, I think, at the start of 2019 or 2020. It's definitely a few years away. Absolutely. 2023 at the absolute earliest. Like, you can, Luigi, you and I had spoken about this offline, but it really seems that titles like Metroid Prime are being saved for the next-gen Switch. So you're going to have Metroid Dread here to chew on for a little while, but like you're saying, and I share this sentiment, it's going to be a few years until we get to Metroid Prime, and it's probably going to be on the next-gen Switch. Sylph says, yes, Breath of the Wild 2 and Smash were enough for them to win. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's good. That'll move us into our next one. Let's talk about Kazuya. Kazuya Mishima. So, let's be honest. This isn't who, I'm sure, like, if you follow the Lodge and, I've interacted with you, this isn't who any of us wanted, right? This isn't who any of us wanted. But this is one of those characters. Fun fact, Metroid Dread was announced in 2004. Well, there you go. There you go. Revisiting old wounds, you might say. But, look, I don't care for Kazuya. I don't care for Tekken. But this is such a cool announcement. And I feel like what I'd like to see more of the conversation be circled around is that Smash is really trying to be the ultimate fighter game, right? We're trying to get everything in here. Everything from SNK to Street Fighter and now Tekken. Honestly, if there's a third Fighters Pass, I'm praying for Soul Calibur. But, well, that's another conversation for another day. But Kazuya is a great announcement. Kazuya is a great announcement, no matter what way you look at it. It really adds a lot of depth to Smash's roster, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime game. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I really think so. I think when Smash moves forward, meaning whatever game comes after Ultimate, I don't think you're going to see a roster like this. I actually think it's going to be more limited. It'll be more dense, you know what I mean? But I think it won't be as expansive as this. I'm not sure they're ever going to be able to pull something like this off again. And again, I hope I'm wrong. But I like that they're taking this seriously and they're saying, hey, this is our one shot to really just make like the ultimate fighting game, a celebration of not just video games, but of fighting games too. Because Smash is a Nintendo game, Smash is a party game, but Smash most definitely is a fighting game. And I love these sort of inclusions, whether we're looking at by way of Terry Bogard or Kazuya. This really makes Super Smash Bros. Ultimate like the ultimate fighting game. And I think it's cool. I know that's not the boldest statement in the world, but I really like this inclusion. Don't get me wrong, I wanted Sora, I wanted Dante, I wanted Crash Bandicoot. All of those sound so much more appetizing to me. And who knows, we might get a third Fighters Pass. That last fighter slot, if I were to guess, I think it's going to be a first party. I think it's going to be a first party representative, if I were to guess. Are we going to get some Mario Party group streams? We'll get on that down the line, because you know what? I got to pull that up when we talk a little bit more about Nintendo. That Mario Party that they announced looked awesome. PB and Jilly, I'm not even a Kingdom Hearts fan and I want Sora for Smash. There's so many people like that and you got to love it. Genesis246, what's going on? Good to see you in here. A new follower of the Lodge. Welcome aboard. Happy to have you. Oh boy, but let's move on. We talked a little bit about Kazuya. We talked a little bit about Metroid. Let's talk about these two announcements. And what we're talking about here is Skyward Sword and the Age of Calamity DLC. Now, hold on, I think we got my boy Skull Kid in here. Keyword for one of the upcoming games, despair. Oh yeah. Still Sora, do you think the 13th fighter is a thing like Sora maybe? I don't think so. I think the last fighter in Smash, at least on this Fighters Pass, is going to be first party. There's just something in my gut that says it. I think Nintendo sees the trend of when a character gets announced for Smash, whatever game they're from sees a bump in sales. So Nintendo's going to use that to the best of their ability. But let's talk about these announcements. Now, I don't know how many big Zelda fans we have listening right now. But I freaked out a little, and I think something got lost in translation, because right before they talked about, and I'll go back to it, the Age of Calamity DLC. Yeah, let's just go back to there. When they talked about the Age of Calamity DLC, they said, this is our final announcement. And I remember just thinking, oh boy, Twitter's about to shred them apart. Because not that Age of Calamity wasn't a good game. It was. I loved Age of Calamity. I'm excited for this DLC. It's awesome. But that's not what you want is the final announcement. And they made it seem like it was going to be. And I just remember freaking out momentarily. But then they clarified a little further that, hey, there's a few more that follow this. I'm really excited for Skyward Sword. I'm just going to say it. I make some Zelda content. For those of you who are familiar with my channel, I make some Zelda content. I did a big stream of Breath of the Wild. I love Zelda very, very, very much. And I've played every 3D Zelda like 4 times, except for Skyward Sword. I played it once, and I never had the drive to play it again. But it's actually one of my favorite stories in the entire Zelda franchise. But the gameplay for me on the Wii was just always lacking and annoying. But having button controls for Skyward Sword for me is a serious game changer. Genesis, oh no, I missed the talk about Metroid. I'm so excited for Dread. Well, Genesis, if you're a big Metroid fan, feel free to let us know what excites you the most about Dread. And I'll read that so people can get a little further scoop on Metroid. Mookie says, can't wait for that DLC. I still haven't beaten the game, though. I've been too busy with work. Hey, listen, man, life gets busy. Life gets busy, but you're out there crushing it, and we have to have our priorities in order. I cheer you on, Mookie. Keep crushing it out there and get to your games when you can. But I'm excited for this DLC. It's really cool. But going back to Skyward Sword, the button controls change everything. Change everything for me. I hope they handle well. They might be lacking. I don't know. I'll only know when I play. But I'm really excited for this because this is one of the most important stories in the Zelda canon. It's one of my favorite stories in the Zelda canon. And we'll get to it when we talk about Breath of the Wild 2 a little bit. But it looks like Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be taking from Skyloft a little bit. And I'm excited to see that, honestly. Because, again, this game has such rich lore. It knows what it is. It's a serious love letter to the Zelda franchise. So, to me, it would be really cool if they can get these button controls down and make this, at least in my opinion, gameplay-wise, comparable to that of Twilight Princess or Wind Waker. One thing I was disappointed in seeing, and let's switch up the scenes. One of the things I was really disappointed with Nintendo, at least with these Zelda announcements, is we didn't get any sort of Zelda HD collection. You know what I mean? We got one of those with Mario, lazy as it was. It's a nice thing to have. It was cool to seamlessly play Super Mario 64 again. I love that game. But my little brother is holding the N64 in our copy of Mario 64, so I don't get to play it as often. But I was really hoping we could have gotten a Zelda HD announcement. There are games like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, where they all have these HD ports, whether by way of 3DS or the Wii U. They belong on the Switch, man. One of the things that was great about the Wii U, even though it was so lacking in so many ways, is that like every Zelda title was available to you on the Wii U. And it's a shame that the Switch, 4 years into its console cycle, still can't compare to that. It's kind of a shame. My man Genesis, big Metroid fan, says, I'm excited for the fact that Metroid fans are finally eating after 19 years of silence. But realistically, I'm just excited to see HD 2D Metroid. Yeah, you know, I think one of the things that's cool, and Nintendo understands this, is that not everything needs to be 3D, open world, super high-tech combat, awesome cutscenes. Like, you can make a cool 2D side-scroller, whether by way of Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze or Metroid Dread. You can make a cool top-down Zelda like the Link's Awakening remake. Nintendo understands these things, at least from a developer perspective, and you really do love to see it. My man Treehouse jumps in. We are in history for this live episode. Maybe a Zelda 35th presentation like what they did with Mario. That's what I'm holding out for. That's what I'm holding out for, because we have these incredible, iconic games of gaming history, whether it's by way of Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, and we gotta have these available on the Switch, man. We gotta have these available on the Switch. But what gives me a little bit of hope is Nintendo, as annoying as it can be for us, the consumer at times, is very smart when it comes to marketing. They weren't always that way, certainly weren't that way with the Wii U. But lately, and it's one of the reasons the Switch is such a big success, they know what the hell they're doing. And I think the way they see it, if they announced a Zelda HD collection, there are people like me who go, well, I certainly enjoyed Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker way more than Skyward Sword, so I'm going to get the HD collection instead of Skyward Sword. No, they're waiting for the chumps like me. They're going to drop Skyward Sword. We're all going to spend our money on it, and then they'll announce the HD collection. That's just my weird little tinfoil hat theory, but that's what I think is going on. Oh, man. But listen, we've been at it for a little while. We still haven't talked about Breath of the Wild. I think it's maybe time. Let me get this pulled up. And I do want to talk a little bit FF7 Remake and Integrate to close this out, just because I finished the DLC and I got to talk about it a little bit. But Jesus. Yeah, okay. Let's switch this up. Let me throw this on in the back. This was everything, man. You know, I did not care what Nintendo did this whole presentation. All I needed was a little Breath of the Wild food. And we got it. And glory to the goddess Hylia. It's awesome. It's just a little teaser. It doesn't show us much, but we got gameplay. And that's great to see, because that means we're, when they showed us what they showed us a couple years ago, it was very obvious they were very early in development. It looked like one of the opening cutscenes of the game. But now what we're looking at is it looks like the world has been built, it's being fleshed out, and what's so cool is it looks like we're gonna still have the map of Hyrule that we had from Breath of the Wild 1, and we're gonna get to explore Skyloft. So we're gonna have that nice, cool mix of the old and the new, where the explorer in us will get to explore Skyloft, and that'll be the new map we unlock, but it'll also be able to dive back down into the Hyrule of Breath of the Wild 1. Now, I'm not sure how big of a time jump we have from Breath of the Wild 1 to 2. I will say it's pretty cool to see Link's got the long locks and Zelda went short hair. It's just cool stylistic choices. Shows that some time has passed, that these characters have changed a little bit, at least the way they perceive themselves. But getting back to that trailer a couple years ago, it's very obvious they were early in development. Here we got to see Hyrule, we got to see what Skyloft looks like, we got to see what all the new gameplay mechanics look like. Now the release date was 2022. I'm optimistic. I think we might get this next summer. I mean, at the latest, we're talking holiday 2022 if there's no delays. But I feel very optimistic because it looks like they're further along in development than I thought they were. And that's just from a personal perspective. But this game looks out of this world. I'm so excited for it. And the fact that they're roping back in Skyward Sword is incredible. Because again, that title has one of the best stories and is some of the most lore-rich of the entire series. It would be foolish not to include it. Honestly, it would be foolish not to include it. In many ways, it serves as a prequel to Breath of the Wild. Even in gameplay. Treehouse says, do you think the footage was shown on current Switch, Switch Pro, or PC? That's a good question. I don't have a perfect eye for that sort of stuff. I'd have to say, just so they probably locked it in on some computer. I really don't know. I wish they made a new Super Mario Strikers game. Little Chris, my man, now that is a suggestion. I'm more on the Mario Baseball side. I'd love to see a new Mario Baseball, but I'd love to see some of those. Trio says, I see no frame drops. It's crazy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what my gut tells me this was showcased on a computer, but who knows? Maybe it is the Switch Pro. And I have to be honest, we talked about this with Metroid Prime a little bit. I would not be shocked if this game gets the Twilight Princess treatment. And I'll tell you what that means. When Twilight Princess came out, it was when the Wii just dropped. But Nintendo, to their credit, being consumer friendly, said we don't want to box out the GameCube console players. So when Twilight Princess came out, it was available for both the Wii and the GameCube. Same thing with... Actually, it's the same thing with Breath of the Wild. It was available on Switch and the Wii U. Jesus Christ, showing my age. Anyway, I think we're going to see the same thing. I think this game... And by the way, it's not going to be Breath of the Wild 2. They've made it clear that's not going to be the title. It's going to have its own title. But this game is going to come out for both the new Switch and the old Switch. I really believe so. And I'm going to be a sucker, and I'm going to get that new Switch to play this on the new Switch. But I'm really excited for this. This looks really cool. I'm a huge Zelda fan. I love seeing them double down on what works. But if I were to express my biggest fear of Breath of the Wild 2, what's everybody's fears about Link's arm? I'd love to get into that in a second. But let me just touch on this first, though. One of the things that scares me is the thing I love the most about Breath of the Wild was that I could just explore. That it was just like this open sandbox, and it was just like this bottomless pit of exploration. Combat was fun, story was cool, all that stuff's great, music was beautiful, all that stuff's great. But the sense of exploration in me that it ignited was unlike anything any game had ever done before. So my highest hopes are that I could have a love for exploring Skyloft the way they gave me a love for exploring Hyrule. And hopefully with however long has passed between this game and the first Breath of the Wild, hopefully in that time jump, Hyrule has changed a lot too. Another conversation for another day, but Breath of the Wild 2 gives me a lot of high hopes. And Genesis wants to get into some theories here. So I'll indulge a little bit. Link's arm? Let me tell you, this theory is not unique to me. I wish I could remember I've heard it secondhandedly from other people, but there's a YouTuber who put this theory out that's really good. If anybody recalls a theory and wants to drop the YouTuber in the chat, please do. But the theory essentially is that Hyrule's tech basically was built on sucking the power out of Ganondorf. That's why you see that shot of the arm on like Ganondorf's heart, and it seems to be like sucking the vital life force out of him. It appears to this in this theory that because they were using the power of the Triforce vested in Ganondorf, because they were using that to power the tech, that's why Ganon was able to take it over like that, because it was used from his stream of life. Now, getting into Link's arm, what that is, whatever it is, it can handle that transfer of energy. I get major Twilight Princess vibes about that arm. I don't know exactly what it is. Like, I don't even know where to begin. But it's got to have something to do with this theory of taking the energy out of Ganondorf and using it to power the tech. That would be just my best guess. I also wanted to talk about this thing, man. This is like a thing that I'll buy, never play, but I just want to have it. And that makes me feel guilty. And I'm talking about this Game & Watch Zelda that hosts Legend of Zelda 2, Link's Awakening, and a Game & Watch game where they subbed in Link. This thing is super cool, and I would love to have it. I think it's one of the coolest things. I don't know. It just seems like such a cool little gadget. I don't know. I'm a sucker for this sorts of stuff, guys. What can I say? If I see we got a little bit of chat going on here, let's see what we got here. Link falling from the sky reminds me of the Kingdom Hearts 3 2017 trailer with Sora free falling. Absolutely. Absolutely. I get the same exact vibes. It's cool. It's cool. Oh, Jilly hooked it up. Awesome. Awesome. Maybe I can get this pulled up on the screen. Ganon Life Force Theory. Let me see. Maybe I can get this pulled up. Hold on a second, gang. Oof. Let's see. All right. Cool. Now let's switch this up. Perfect. All right, let's scroll through this. What do you guys say? All right, Ganon's corpse this is from Gene Park, which I'm going to give this guy a follow when we get out of here. Let's see. Gene Park. Ganon's corpse is dehydrated because Hyrule was using his Triforce of Power as a renewable energy source, which is why he turned the kingdom's weapons against itself. It's why King Rhoam was so against Zelda pursuing the sciences she'd learned the dark truth about her family. Yeah, that's the theory right there. That's what I'm talking about. That seems viable to me. Yo, congrats on the engagement, bro. Thank you, Trippy Gospel. Thank you. For those who haven't heard, me and my darling girlfriend, Charlotte, have gotten engaged. We've been together 5 years. On June 16th, it was our 5-year anniversary. So I proposed to her on a hiking trail right by this nice lake, and we are officially engaged, and Charlotte is officially the lady of the lodge. Hack Hero says this theory might be masked Nintendo bandits. Yeah, I'll look into him too. Maybe he's done a nice theory on it. Also, I'm getting that Legend of Zelda emulator thing is sick. Yeah, I think you're talking about the Game & Watch sort of handle. I really want that too. I'm a sucker for that sort of stuff. I'm excited. The Zelda announcements were really cool. Really cool. Everything from the Skyward Sword HD, which looks amazing. Like, button controls is all I could ever ask for. I don't care that it's charging $60. I'll give them $60 for smooth button controls because the story is that good. The Game & Watch is a cool little gadget to have, and the Age of Calamity DLC looks really cool. And it also looks like they're continuing that DLC into the fall. So I'm just happy to see that their success in the world of Zelda. But let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about Intergrade. Now, this is your warning, everybody. If you have not seen the ending of Intermission, Episode Yuffie, whatever you want to call it, now's your time to get out because I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to take a big sip of this tea, and when that tea is done, it's spoiler time, baby. Okay, let's get into this a little bit. Square, I don't know how else to say it. This is not a family-friendly show. There's your next spoiler warning. This is ASMR. This is not a family-friendly show, so I'm going to say it. Square is the master of foreplay. They really know how to get you excited. They know how to show you just enough, and then they know how to leave you just like, oh, but you didn't finish. Ugh. And I get it, because it keeps you excited. So let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. Episode Yuffie ends. Nero stabs through Sonnen, absorbs him into the darkness. Who knows what the implications of that are going to be? Yuffie escapes Midgar, the plate falls, and she's out on Gaia patrolling with a chocobo. Which, by the way, Yuffie is one of those characters I've always wanted to love, but I never felt like the games or the compilation material ever did her justice. Like, she was funny in OG. Like, her and Tifa's dynamic could be really funny at times, so she was funny in OG. But in Dirge, she's kind of a non-factor. In Advent Children, she can be very boring. But they made her so much fun in this DLC. And it left me sitting here going, Yuffie could be the star of her own video game. She really could. I could do a 30-hour, 40-hour RPG game with just Yuffie. She's a strong enough character. She's likable. She's easy to root for. She's easy to understand, mostly because, she's 16. She's a kid. But she was so much fun to play as. She really could carry a video game franchise herself the way they fleshed her out. I really strongly believe that. But let's get into the big thing. Zack. And what the hell's going on with that? What in the hell's going on with that? Good reminder, by the way, if you love Final Fantasy VII, I have a Final Fantasy VII podcast, the Midgar Minute. Check it out. We do a lot of breakdowns on there, including the compilation material like Crisis Core and Dirge. But that ending, I'm left with like 3 different ideas in my head, right? It's either that incident happens in the present moment, like at the same time we're walking to Calm, that happens in that present moment in like an alternate universe. I don't buy into that. My big thing is, look, I don't know if it's going to be 2 timelines or 1 timeline. I'm not convinced on either one yet. But I'm not sure that this is... Oh my God. We got a big comment here. Big C and I watched Advent Children last night. Afterward, my theory about Zack is I think he could have died in the way he did originally, but not realized it. Walked to the church, but because he's dead, time moves different. And then when he gets there, Aerith has done her last favor for the planet, and they leave the church together. You see them leaving the church together at the end of Advent Children. Oh shit, sorry. No, don't be apologetic. That's what we're here to talk about, these sorts of Zack theories, because it can go anywhere. Like, it's so ambiguous that they can still take this so many different directions. And I actually kind of like that. I'm not sure that's it. Oop, didn't have this on loop. Let's keep that on loop. I'm not sure that that's it, but that sounds viable because I really do think, and you've listened to the podcast, so you've heard me say this 1,000 times. I really do think the ending of Remake is going to be very similar to the ending of Advent Children. I think that's where this goes. I think it's going to end with Zack and Aerith walking into the light, into that like white light, into the realm, into the life stream. I really think that's what you're going to see. I like the theory that Zack is in the life stream, that like he died but not really. He died but got to preserve his body in the afterlife. The Zack scene in Intermission is so close to the Advent Children ending. It really is. It really is. It really is, the church at least. Yeah, with the white light behind him and everything. Very similar to the Advent Children ending. I think it's possible that they're going to go this direction of Zack is in the live stream. But I also think it's equally as possible, because Square would be the master trolls if they pulled this off, that we all might really just be overthinking it. We all really might just be overthinking it, and it might be as simple as that scene with Zack simply happened once he got back to Midgar. Because check it. Let's consider the chronology of the editing, right? So we get to the end of Remake, and we get that cut of Zack being alive. We see Zack's alive. Then we cut to the ending, and the party is leaving Midgar and headed towards Calm. And then we get that flash. It starts raining, and we get that flash of Zack and Aerith walking right past each other. Right? So where are we? Chronologically, the gang is headed to Calm. That's where they're going. Chronologically, Zack is headed to Midgar. Now, even though We're in the present moment. That scene with Zack is still technically in the past. That scene where he walks right by us is still technically in the past. That's Crisis Core era, right after he survives the gun down. So what does this epilogue show us? This epilogue really just, if you look at it, it might literally simply just pick up right from where their chronologies left off. Because that's what that was, right? That was an epilogue to 7 Remake, those last 5-6 minute cutscenes. So where do we cut? We cut to the group leaving Midgar, walking to Calm. Literally, it's like 2 seconds, not 2 seconds, it's like an hour later. You know, they've made some distance between Midgar and where they were, but like it's later in the day. You know, it's kind of like the morning-ish when the scene starts at the end of Remake, but it's like the middle of the day. And then we cut to Zack, and he's right where we left him off. He was headed back to Midgar. Of course, the first thing he'd do getting back to Midgar is go see Aerith. So I really think you're either going to get the most, like, simple explanation or the most, like, mindfuck explanation. It's either as crazy as Zack is in the live stream and he's going to be moving through time and space to try to insert stimuli to, you know, save Aerith or help the party. Or it might be as simple as, yeah, you kill the Whispers, you save Zack. The gang goes to Calm, Zack goes back to Midgar, and he goes to see Aerith. But then the question becomes, why isn't Aerith there? It can't be as simple as, oh, well, she's not at the church. She must be at Elmira's. Who knows? Who knows? But all I know is things are getting pretty crazy, and it's great to see it. I understand, like, let's just move off of it. Let's just move off it. There's so much to talk about with FF7 Remake and that episode Yuffie. I mean, the Fort Condor itself was worth the $20. I don't know if anyone's gone in on Fort Condor, but I love it so much. PB and Jelly says, I'm just so ready for the next installment. And that's what I mean. They're the masters of the foreplay. You know, they give you a little something, but you're still there like, okay, but more. There's more to this, right? There's Fort Condor. Getting back to Fort Condor. What an amazing minigame. This is what I want to see. Final Fantasy, at least like in its heyday, was always known for having the coolest minigames baked into these RPGs. Well, like, always. And if Fort Condor is a nice preview of what we're going to get at the Golden Saucer, man, I'm hyped. I mean, even the Whack-A-Box minigame in Chapter 2 was way better than what we got in Remake OG. I don't know. Like, one of the fun things about 7 Remake and what's going on is, you know, when you look at what they're doing with everything from the gameplay to the characters to the mini games, they keep getting it right. Now, where fans can seem to disagree and get a little worried is where the story's headed, right? Because we've severed ourselves from Fate, and which implies things are going to be different this time. And I understand people who that worries them, and they go, hey man, I just wanted my FF7 the way it was. At the same time, there are those like me who are like, I've played FF7 a million times. I know exactly what happens. I'm down for them to shake up the bag a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong. When I see these things going on with Zack, there are parts of me that get a little worried, right? Then go play OG, exactly. But there are parts of me that get a little worried, right? Because I'm like, what are they going to do with Zack? What if they do something stupid? What if it's just the dumbest, like, mind-bending, dumb, alternate... Not that alternate universes are dumb or parallel timelines are dumb, but they can be done really dumb. And we've seen it a million times in media. Like, not that... Look, parallel timelines and alternate universes can be cool, but a lot of the times, they're kind of lame. So when I see this Zack stuff, there is that little voice in my ear that's like, yo, what if they do something really stupid and cringy, right? But then I look at everything else they've done. From the soundtrack, to how much fun these characters are, to the voice acting, to the gameplay. They know what they're doing. And let's be honest, Dirge of Cerberus was a train wreck. But the way they incorporated the Dirge stuff in this DLC was awesome. Nero is way cooler in this Yuffie DLC than he is in Dirge of Cerberus. Vice's voice actor was awesome, man. Whoa! Whoa, the first raid in our podcast history is the Treehouse dropping in here with a squad. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Landy Lodge. We are finishing up our first live podcast in history. We have done 100 episodes. All 100 are viewable on YouTube, but this is our first time going live on Twitch and Treehouse. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Twitch, you need to go follow my man Treehouse. If you love the Smash streams I do, this man is doing Smash almost every day, and he's fighting you, the audience. So get over there and support this man. He knows what he is doing out here. Treehouse, thank you for the raid, my brother, and welcome all of you. Now, big spoiler big spoiler wedding. Jesus, the engagement's getting to me. Big spoiler warning! For those of you who are just here, I am talking about the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission. So while I appreciate your support and you being here, I don't want you to get spoiled on something. So this is your chance. I'm going to take a big sip of this tea. Thank you for being here. But if you're not trying to be spoiled on that ending, now's your chance to get out. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, let's move on. Hey, at the end, Zach makes it. I assume you mean makes it to me. I can't get spoiled, but I will follow. Thank you so much, my Pian King. I don't know how to say it. I hope I said it right. Mr. Slippy, I am immune to spoilers. Oh, we got a badass here, ladies and gentlemen. But Dot Hack Hero says, hey, at the end, Zach makes it to Midgar, but where's Cloud? See, now that becomes the kicker, right? He takes Cloud back to Midgar. Where does he bring Cloud? You have to assume he must bring him to Tifa, right? Because Zack and Tifa, they do have a repertoire. They do know each other. So the idea that Cloud got dropped off to Tifa from Zack is not all that crazy. Especially since Tifa has this community with Marle and everybody who easily would support this sort of thing. And Marle seems to have her reservations about Cloud, even though she hadn't quite met him yet. So you can... maybe that means something. Who knows? But that would be my guess, Dot Hack Hero, is that Zack brought Cloud back to Midgar and left him with Tifa. There's no way Zack would have left Cloud. We know that for sure. Maybe. There's no way he would have left him in capable hands. But again, I think people underestimate that Zack and Tifa do know each other and they have shared trauma. Now that bonds people. That's a big part of Final Fantasy VII is shared trauma bonding people together. Tifa and Zack were there for some of the worst of it together. With Cloud, even though Cloud may not remember. So again, I think that if Zack did get Cloud back to Midgar, it would make perfect sense that he brought him to Tifa. Because think about how it is in OG, right? What is it? They find Cloud just at the train station, sitting there? You know? Maybe somebody tipped them off that Cloud would be there. I don't know. We'll see. Yes, leaving in capable hands. He wouldn't leave Cloud out in the wilderness, I mean. Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He wouldn't just leave Cloud out there. No way. But remember that Remake starts and Tifa seems in on it. You know what I mean? She knows what Cloud's situation is. She's not trying to poke at it too much. She's not trying to poke the bear too much. She's trying to walk on eggshells around Cloud, because she knows what's really going on in his head and that his eggs are essentially scrambled. So who could have given her that prior knowledge? You know what I mean? There's a lot of holes in OG. Doesn't make it bad. They had to flesh out the story as best as they could with the limited tech. But one of those holes was the whole Tifa finding Cloud thing. And instead of her just finding him sitting at the train station, I actually like the idea that a war buddy with shared trauma dropped her off. But all in all, I want to get off FF7 for a little bit here, and I want to round this out, and I want to close this out. E3. At the end of the day, E3 was a lot of fun. We got some really cool announcements. Nintendo won the day, if you ask me. I know Microsoft and Bethesda had a good time too. I know a lot of people were satisfied with their presentations. But if you ask me, it seems to me Nintendo won the day. But a lot of companies like Square and Capcom, it seems to me that they held their best hands. A lot of companies, even though they respect E3 and want to be a part of it, it doesn't look to me like they're prioritizing E3 the way they used to. Which sucks for E3, but think about it. If you're Nintendo, you don't want to... if you're Nintendo, you don't want to showcase Breath of the Wild 2 completely at E3. You want to do that big showcase on your own terms, because Nintendo has the distribution network to do it. So we're living in a day where events like E3 aren't going anywhere, and we're always going to have them, and they're always going to be fun. But even companies like Square Enix have been doing their own showcases. You know, they have the means and the networks to do this now. So E3 is just less necessary, and because of that, the announcements we're going to get at E3 are just inevitably going to be less dense. But the other thing that's worth acknowledging is, with everything that's gone on the last year, with, you know, lockdowns and all, it's been tough on the gaming companies. It's been tough on the developers having to like work from home instead of just being on these close proximity teams. And you're starting to feel that this year, especially at this E3. And look, don't get me wrong, I wanted more, especially from Square Enix. I wanted more, but it's not right to hold it against these companies right now. It's not right to hold it against these developers right now. They're doing everything they can in one of the hardest times to work, especially if you work on things like games that require a lot of group and collaboration effort. So look, even though E3 was a little bit lacking this year, all things considered and last year considered, I actually think we got a pretty good E3. And, you know, whether you're looking by Square Enix, which when it initially went through, even though they are still a bit of a bust, seeing that Final Fantasy Origins is being received very well now that they have that demo in order, suddenly that E3 looks a little bit better. So at the end of the day, looking back, if a lot of the games that were announced do well at this E3, like Metroid Dread, then suddenly this E3 doesn't look as much of a bust as it used to. But the way I see it, there were a lot of cool announcements. There's a lot of cool stuff to look forward to. I know that I'm excited. I know a lot of you guys out there. I thought Microsoft killed it this year. Yeah, no. Microsoft and Bethesda did a good job together. They really did. They really did a good job. And look, they're one of the groups. They're one of the groups that have been killing it lately. Like Xbox Game Pass, it might be a short-term loss, but it's going to be such a long-term gain. Microsoft really is thinking ahead and thinking about the future, and the Game Pass is a brilliant idea, and it's a really good deal. Microsoft really did a good job. All things considered, I think E3 was really solid when you consider everything that's happened in the last year. Nintendo did a bang-up job. I mean, we didn't even get to talk about it, but that new Mario Party looks awesome. And the fact they're reviving old maps and old mini games, like that just seems like you're giving... Where Nintendo can sometimes be tone deaf, sometimes they come out with something like Mario Party Superstars where you go, wow, you really care. Like that was a smart consumer decision. A smart decision for the consumers. You know what I'm trying to say. Those aren't the right words, but you guys know what I mean. Jesus. But listen, E3 was great, all things considered. I'm repeating myself at this point. I want to close it out here. Everybody, I want to thank you all for being here. This is our 100th episode. I'm so happy with it. I'm so happy with how everything's are going on the channel, and whether it's Twitch or YouTube or whether it's the podcast on the audio platforms, the Sages of the Lodge, everything is going so well, and it wouldn't be possible without all of you who have been so supportive and have hung out in here, whether you're Sage of the Lodge or you just drop into the chat or you raid my stream. I all really appreciate it. Thank you all for being a part of it. Please hang around. I want to raid my friend Orpheus Joshua. He's a fellow Sage of the Lodge. He's been so supportive from the beginning. I want to give him a nice raid. Let's take over his chat. But really, I love all of you. Thank you all for being such an awesome part of this. Now let's go and take over this man's stream, ladies and gentlemen. He's streaming Sonic Adventure Classics. Let's do this raid. Thank you all for being here so much. This was great. I love you, and I will see you all on the next one.